Okay, this is Reaction Saturday. I'm going to be doing a Dave Ramsey reaction video. Is will the FDIC protect you if all banks fail? No further ado, let's get into it.
Matt is in Baton Rouge. Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
I just have a quick question. So I'm a relatively new listener, and I started listening just in time to hear you talk about the bank craziness going on. And I'm just curious, this might be a really stupid question, but how can the FDIC insure every deposit under $250,000? Where do they get the money? And I'm not even exactly sure what the FDIC is. Could you give like a brief crash course rundown?
Sure.
That's a good question. I want to hear what Dave have to say, and then I'll put my 2 cents in it.
It stands for Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. It's the federal government writing insurance against your bank's failure. Now, do they have a pile of money equal to everyone's covered amount? Absolutely not. But your insurance company does not have a pile of money equal to everyone at State Farm totaling their car this week either. If everybody totaled their car at once, State Farm's gone. They don't have that much money.
Gotcha.
Okay? What they're running is they're running probabilities, statistical probability of this occurring. And so if enough banks...
But let me cut him off just in case you're not necessarily familiar with this at all. Typically, when you go to a bank, they'll normally have the FDIC $250,000 FDIC assured. What the guy is asking, okay, if how will they be able to insure all these people if all the banks particularly collapse? And Dave Ramsey is answering the question. Dave Ramsey's response is, well, probability of that happening is highly unlikely, and if it did happen, we would have more severe problems. But I'll let Dave finish what he has to say, and then I'll put my 2 cents into it.
Went down at one time to destroy the amount of money that the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the federal government, could get their hands on. That means the entire American economy has collapsed, and you should buy a gun.
Okay, now he's doing his shenanigans or whatever. But actually, let's let him finish.
Gotcha. So it's publicly funded.
No,
Sure.
well,
Right?
Matt, think of it like how your insurance works. If you have State Farm, everybody's paying their premium, and they're paying into this big pile of money so that when somebody needs to actually use their insurance, there's money there. And it's the same thing with FDIC. These insured banks are paying premiums to FDIC,
Okay,
so there's a big
bank pays
stack
into
of money.
FDIC.
The banks fund the FDIC with their premiums, but they don't
Yes.
give it enough money to cover all bank failures that's simultaneously occurring.
No,
Gotcha.
but it is a lot of
Okay.
money.
It's plenty to cover
plenty.
anything that's actually going to occur.
Yeah.
But if but the mathematics are, to your point, Matt, the mathematics are just like if all of State Farm autos got totaled in 1 month, there's not enough, they don't have the money to cover all that because they're running it on probabilities. And so this is an insurance policy based on a projected number of bank failures in a given decade, plus a lot. And so
So I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in it. Also, you gotta remember the banks. A lot of times, for the FDIC, central banks works with the feds as well. So you have to remember the feds have the ability to print money. So if a lot of banks end up failing, what the federal government can do as a short-term fix is print more money, issue it as forms of bonds or something like that. Because if the whole banking system fails, financial system, the way the economy operates, everything would probably be into shambles. So probably what would end up happening is, if push comes to shove, the feds would probably just end up printing enough money to meet that demand. That's what I think my personal opinion was. But he did bring up a good point. The probability of that happening is extremely low. You can kind of think about that in any situation. So in order for that particularly happen, the people would probably have to lose faith in the federal government, which probably could cause chaotic or possibly wartime, simply because whenever you have people that lose faith in the government or the military backing, then that's when a whole bunch of probably wild stuff can happen. And that's what he mentioned, get a gun, whatever. But let's continue, see what you have to say.
It's a very conservative set of mathematics, meaning you could have a whole bunch of banks fail. We had a lot of them.
By the way, as a history lesson, the reason why this was actually the FDIC and SEC, hopefully I didn't mix it up with college football or baseball, whatever, but during the Great Depression time, the banking system and all that did collapse. So that's why one of the things that they end up having was to have banks be regulated a little bit more, and that's when like the whole FDIC thing came about to prevent another collapse like this from happening. And to ensure that people trust in the banking system, they implement the FDIC. So that is one of the biggest, I think, pros that I can say that the banking system has now. The collaboration, okay, if I put this amount, will be backed by the federal government, if that makes sense. But let's continue.
Cashed out FDIC and went belly up. FDIC took them over, resold the banks.
Yep.
The sale of the bank, the money goes back into the insurance policy as well to cover. But that happened in 2008, a lot more than in the last 3 or 4 months or so.
Yeah.
So, but if you had 25,000 banks crash at one time, there's not enough money. And by the way, if 25,000 banks crash at one time,
we got issues.
Life as we know it in America no longer exists.
That's right.
There's a whole lot of other crap that goes with that. That can't be just an independent thing.
Yeah.
You got to understand that if that occurs, everywhere you shop is out of business.
Oh yeah, we're looking for clean water and supplies.
Exactly. Yeah. We're not looking for gold. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. So but it's a good question, and it's good.
Very good
to think
question.
About.
But that concludes this video. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about it? If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to my channel.